Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first of a series of webinar that we are doing as part of the Friends of Champions India network. Today's webinar is on scaling innovation in post-harvest management. We have a few more that are coming in the next few months, and we are very, very excited to have you all join today for this important topic. Food loss and waste, while is a grave, climate problem, has multiple co-benefits in terms of improving access to, food and nutritional security, economic benefits, environmental benefits. However, it hasn't really received the attention it deserves. And some of this, when we started work in here in India on food loss and waste, we looked at, what's really the state of the art when we think about the issue of food loss and waste. And what came out from our analysis was that there are more unknowns than knowns when it comes to the topic of food loss and waste. This is a problem which is very geography hotspot specific. So we really need to think about, in a particular region, what are the critical issues when we are thinking about, food loss and waste, but also is a problem which requires a diverse set of stakeholders to come together, in terms of thinking through of, problems and, but also the solutions, which is something which is lacking. But I wanted to delve a bit more on why this is such a big problem, right? I mean, if we think about food loss and waste from a very high level global context, they're huge sort of just not working on the topic leads to 8 to 10% of GHG emissions annually, and this is coming from energies, fertilizers, land conversion, landfill, waste associated food, that when we actually spend so much of sort of resources inputs to grow food, but ultimately it's not consumed. And there is evidence that indicates that reducing food loss and waste, by 25% globally would actually reduce the food calorie gap by 12%, land use gap by 27%, and the GHG mitigation gap by 15%. So if you think from a data perspective, um, there's enough data that indicates why it's a huge environmental problem and we need to work on it. If we look at it from the kind of livelihood benefits that it can provide, and so happy to see the panelists here today, and we'll hear a bit more from a lot of innovations that that is happening on in the sector itself, right? Where increasing in shelf life, use of technology or strengthening the supply chains, which sort of help in removing, reducing losses that happen across the supply chain. So overall, important topic, the Friends of Champions Network. We started in India, learning a lot from the Champions Network globally. Champions 12.3 is a network which WRI globally is a secretariat along with the Netherlands government's Ministry of Agriculture. And the Champions Network really sort of proposes a target measure act approach. And with the sort of network, the focus is on how do we inspire, enable, motivate different kind of actions on food loss and waste. We've learned a lot from the Global Champions Network, but the India network, and some of you are part of it here as well, is we have, it's a growing network. So please do join. There are 30 members from diverse organizations, research institutes, startups, innovators who are part of this. And we are looking forward to sort of, see how we grow, also co-create some of the solutions on some of the complex problems when it comes to food loss and waste. And with that, I'd like to sort of, welcome again to this first of the 5-part series of the webinar that we are hosting. Today's topic, as I said, is on scaling innovation in post-harvest management. And we are going to be doing few more of those, and we are looking forward to having your, contribution and very sort of critical discussions that can take forward this, take forward all of us together in this journey for reducing food loss and waste. I'd like to pass it back to Anar. Uh,
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ruchika. I again welcome all of you. And I'm very, very happy and excited to start this series. And we have an very stellar lineup of innovations today. And experts who also will talk about building enabling ecosystem and investment climate for supporting these innovations. So it gives me, a lot of joy to welcome and introduce all of you. First will be Mr. Deepak Raj Mohan. He is the CEO of Greenport Labs, who have introduced, really, and you'd hear from Deepak more on what they're doing to reduce post-harvest loss and perishables. We have Ms. Mandvi Singh. She's the Sustainability Program Officer Manager at Arya.ag, and their innovation really focuses on an integrated supply chain for food grains. We have Dr. Subrat Panda, a Chief Technology and Product Officer at AgNext, and they're leveraging AI to reduce, to assess quality in perishables. We have Ms. Palumi Mazumdar, a manager at Intellicap, who would weigh in on how to build an enabling ecosystem. And we have Mr. Shubhodeep Shanyal, partner Omnivore, to weigh in on how, do we build enabling investment climate for innovations? How do we nurture these innovations, foster and scale? So over to you, Deepak. Let's start with you.
Thank you so much, Anur. I just pulled my slide. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining in. So I'm Deepak Rajmohan, founder CEO of Greenport Labs. Greenport Labs, we are a agri-tech startup focused on developing solutions to extend the shelf life of fruits and vegetables. So we use a technology called active packaging, and the science behind our technology is called plant-based defense mechanism. The defense mechanism in a fruit and vegetable is similar to a human immune system, where it can fight against external stress. So we're using this science to develop products and technologies to activate the immune system within the fruit and vegetable to extend the shelf life during transport and storage. We primarily work with all the long distance transport of fruits and vegetables, be it within India or to export market outside India to Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, other markets. So great to be here. Happy to answer any questions and talk through what we are doing. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Deepak. Over to you, Mandvi.
Hello. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah. So, hello everyone, and thank you WRI for inviting us and sharing our innovations, and so that we can learn from all together. So, I'm a company called Arya.ag. We are an integrated post-harvest value chain platform addressing the three persistent challenge that Indian agriculture value chain, especially the post-harvest value chain, is suffering from: the accessible storage, timely finance, and the reliable market linkages. So our innovation lies in seamlessly connecting all these three through a tech-enabled ecosystem designed around the needs of the smallholder farmers. So we operate in more than 60% of the Indian districts with more than a network of 12,000 warehouses, supporting more than 800,000 of farmers and 1,600 FPOs. These are the near farm facilities that help farmers to store their produce safely instead of distress selling, and reducing the post-harvest losses to less than 1%. But storage is only the starting point, as I can say. Through warehousing, receipt financing, we are enabling farmers to use their stored produce or commodity as a collateral to access the instant working capital. And loans are processed in under minutes via our fintech platform, including in areas where formal credit remains out of reach. To ensure price realization, our digital marketplace connects farmers and FPO directly with the verified buyers, offering 100% payment assurance, transparency, and a faster sale. So beyond post-harvest also, our work also begins with sowing. Through our Arya Shakti app, we deliver real-time satellite-based advisory, including pest and disease alerts, crop health monitoring, soil testing, support, and guidance on the climate resilient practices.
So these are the tools which provides end-to-end fully traceable system, empowering farmers not only to prevent food loss, but also to like get their income stable, market access, and greater control over their produce. And also we build enduring value in the agriculture, climate adaptation, strengthening women and youth through our CVRP programs, enabling food security, and catalyzing the ecosystem to the grassroots impact level. This is something that we are trying to do here with our innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Manvi, for that quick roundup. Over to you, Dr. Subrat Panda.
Thank you. Thank you, WRI, for this opportunity. I'll quickly go through. I had, 2 minutes is less, but that's fine. I'll try to fit it within that time. So, see, I represent AgNext. I take care of technology and product at AgNext. And what we do is we try to measure something which has been kind of a misnomer for a very long time objectively. We measure quality of produce and primarily in post-harvest space. The motto that I think which is very relevant here is what cannot be measured cannot be improved. So we focus on measuring quality as a very important objective parameter, and we use the use cases that it kind of drives in this particular food loss segment is precision storage management, adulteration and contamination detection, and sustainable consumption, right? I mean, what we mean to say there is, if when we store it very we store it very a lot of precision, which involves measuring moisture, measuring temperature, measuring humidity through our technology, which is happens like this. You go into cold storages, the things are always maintained and managed at the temperature and conditions that is required, which is helping you to prevent losses. We have a set of technology chain around it, which is hardware, software, sensors, and things around it. The next thing which comes is food losses. Adulteration is an important part of which contributes to food waste. So we have solutions around it, and it can start off with you remove the manual process and replace them with devices, but in an assisted way, right? You take care of all the defects, take care of all the physical anomalies and chemical anomalies in some cases. That in fact, if you do that instantly, that helps in determining the quality of the produce in line, and then helps you in preventing food loss, right? Or rather, contamination of the entire food chain. The third thing which we have been, the next 2 cases which we have been delving deeply recently is into, can we measure food waste, right? And we have been working with customers right now to build this and deploy it on their premises, because that is going to help them in the sustainability goals as well, right? So the way that we produce is, first you measure first up is measuring what is being wasted. Second thing is helping using the data to reduce or plan accordingly so that they can reduce the food waste, and then finally help them dispose that faster, right? And the disposable part is somewhere where you are, which is currently we are working on, and I think we should have a very scalable solution soon, where it's part of circular economy. You use technology which can take up this measured food waste, go back and produce compost out of it, right? Or there are ways to kind of find a better way to use that. So this is what we had at AgNext, and primarily in the post-harvest space, focusing on food waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Subrat. We have follow-up questions for all three of you, but before we do that, let's hear from Paulomi about Intellicap's work in reducing food loss and waste. Over to you, Paulomi.
Yeah, thank you, Anar, for the introduction, and Ruchika for setting a very important context how food loss is impacting the environment, it's impacting soil, everything. And I'm also really happy to be a part of this esteemed panel, it consisting of innovators and change accelerators. While you heard a lot from these innovators, I bring a different perspective. I represent Intellicap. Intellicap is an advisory arm of Avishkar Group, and we build solutions that help build and scale enterprises. We don't just advise, we also advise, we build solutions, and see that these solutions see the light of the day, that they are implemented. How we do it? We identify the grassroots of these problems. What are the problems that are happening on the ground? We design the solutions not just as a one-way thing, but we co-create it with different stakeholders, and we enable these solutions through partnerships, through ecosystem building, which we'll be talking about further. We look at different partnerships because collaboration is heart of all the solutions that we see, and we see that these solutions are implemented on the ground through our we monitor these solutions. We see how these solutions not just are reaching the people for whom we are creating the solution, but we see that these solutions are implemented, they have impact and impact at scale. And a brief introduction about me. I design solutions at the cross-cutting areas of agri-food systems and climate finance. I've been working in this space for over a decade now, and my engagement in in this space with different stakeholders or different categories of stakeholders, be it enterprises, be it financials, be it government, or with the farmers, has helped me support farmers who are at the heart of these solutions. And these experiences have helped me enable me to build a nuanced understanding of the challenges, be it post-harvest loss or be it climate-related challenges which emanate from post-harvest loss, and then design the solutions. Uh, Over to you, Anar.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Paulomi, for giving us a roundup of the core focus areas of IntelliCap. Over to you, Shubhadeep.
Sure. Thank you so much, Anar, and the WRI team for having us here. I'm Shubhadeep. I'm part of Omnivore. Omnivore is a venture fund which is focused on backing early stage businesses, so typically seed to Series A businesses based out of India, and largely kind of end up backing companies in the food, agri, rural, and climate innovation space. Food loss is, of course, an important area that we try and cover through our investment thesis, and we've been investing for about now 14 odd years in India. Currently deploying our third fund and have a portfolio of about 40 odd active companies. Couple of them happen to be here. You just heard AgNext and Arya. We're fortunate to be part of their growth journeys as well. And I think I'll reserve comments for the next section, but that's a quick introduction. Personally, I'm a agronomist by training who ended up in venture capital. So that's my background.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shubhadeep. Of course, we have follow-up questions for all of you, and let's start with Deepak, though. Deepak, you have an interesting innovation, especially surrounding, reducing losses and perishables. Could you share a little bit about, the impact that you have seen in terms of reducing food loss, the scale of impact that you've seen, or how that product has been working for farmers? And you also mentioned that you use it for the export, supply chain, which means like longer duration, in transit. So how could you share a little bit about the impact that you've seen in terms of post-harvest loss reduction?
Yeah, no, appreciate that. I think just on the use case wise, we've been very clear on what commodity to go and develop solutions on, and what has the highest commercial value. Food waste, food losses, yes, that's super critical, but equally the economic losses and controlling that economic losses is where we're able to build the business, and it's where the customers are seeing value as well. One of our major commodities, we primarily work on three commodities right now. So banana is one core focus for us. Citrus, oranges, and quinoa is the second focus. And then we do mangoes for international markets. Primarily those three what we focus on. So with respect to impact, we are able to extend the shelf life by a factor of 40 to 60%. Across a wide range of temperatures. And because we are operating on the internal biochemical pathways, we're able to customize a solution for each commodity, whatever is the requirement for that commodity. With respect to like volumes, what we are able to control, we have saved closer to about 50,000 tons of fresh produce commercially in last year or so. And with exports wise, banana exports is a major segment for us, where we are adding value to extend the shelf life during the banana exports from India to Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. The biggest area what we are trying to unlock, India is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables, but still, with respect to losses, we are losing about 40%. We are exporting less than 2%, and we are processing less than 1%. So the opportunity is massive. Those are the unlocks what we are looking at. One side, we are focused on minimizing the food wastage and food loss, but also enabling the supply chain for either long distance transport or for a longer storage or for processing enablement. So yeah, that's how we are operating. But I think the one area what I wanted to emphasize again is food waste, food losses is only possible and scalable if you're able to provide the right economic benefits. So that's something we are firsthand seeing it and experienced for a longer period, and that's where we are seeing success as well.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Deepak. You did make a very pertinent point, especially on, the economic losses, and that is what, motivates, farmers or traders to sort of adopt innovation, right? That brings me to Manvi. And again, I have an impact question for you, Manvi. Especially in the context of, the integrated solution that, Arya.ag provides, especially in terms of storage, warehousing, finance, providing market linkages. What sort of impact have you seen, especially in the context of food grains, in your work?
Thank you, Dr. Bhatt, for putting out this question, because it's very important that we look at the impact of our innovations. So like I initially told, that Arya mostly looks at the integration of the post-harvest value chain in India. We look at helping farmers to solve this question of where to store, who to finance, and whom to sell. So, starting with our scientific micro warehouses, we tend to cater the audience or the farmers near farm gate, reducing the dependency on the traditional unscientific storage methods that typically result in 10 to 15% of the food loss, which is huge actually. So we use flexible hermetic storage technologies also, which requires negligible capex and help to address the shortage of warehouses near the farm gate. Why I am iterating the word near farm gate? Because it's really important. Because far the logistic or the area covered, the more food loss is there. So working on this integration of the value chain, we have consistently brought down this 10 to 15% of the food loss to less than 1%. But storage, like I told, storage is only the one point. We also provide the warehousing receipt finances, which help the smallholder farmers basically, because they can aggregate their produce at one place, and then we provide them loans based on those aggregated content of commodities. We also partner with banks, and we also have our own arm of NBFC called Arya Dhan, which disperse loan less than 5 minutes, I'll say, because it has an automated credit engine, which is especially impactful in the underserved categories, who are not able to get the formal loans, especially in those underserved primary, secondary, rural markets. Also coming to, and I'm just going to give you an example of Assam, where we were working. We stored actually more than 1,200 metric ton of grains, dispersed around 1.7 crores of WRF. And like I said, we are able to reduce the food loss less than 1%. Coming to the market linkage, the impact, the MSMEs also are able to get 20 to 30% better prices. And because we are also reducing their stress to look for buyers, the quality parameters, this and that. So we are actually helping them to have more, entropy. We are reducing the entropy so that they can connect to the real buyers and real sellers. So this is where we see these are the impacts. And like we talked about, Dr. Ruchika rightly put about the environmental impacts. So we have calculated our in-house emissions, how much are we saving. So last financial year, we around more than 700 million metric tons we stored in our warehouses, more than 13,000 warehouses that we have. So we were able to save more than 91 billion liters of fresh water, which otherwise would have been wasted. If those commodities, we only took like a very negligible amount of food waste, like only 2.3% of food waste we calculated. And based on that, we were able to save 91 billion liters of water and 16,000 plus kgs of fertilizer we avoided because we saved that food, especially from the post harvest, which is mostly neglected because from where it is coming to the market, there is a lot of food loss that happens. So, I mean, these are the small impacts that we are able to create with the scientific storage, financing, and the market access, since we are integrating all these three. So that's all what I can say. Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you. Thanks a lot, Manvi. That was actually, quite, food for thought. And Paulomi, follow-up question for you after we, hear from Subrat. But Manvi, that was an interesting one where you're talking about, building an ecosystem at farm gate level to reduce post-harvest losses. And there are so many key sort of decision makers, right, at that can affect post-harvest losses. And you rightly said that how there is already a lot of resources, including fresh water, that goes into production, which means a food loss also mean lost resources. Coming to you, Subrat, before we move to Paulomi on weighing in on the ecosystem piece, you showed a lot of use of real-time data, through dashboards for stakeholders, for decision makers, right at that production unit. Would you share how does that change their decision making, or have you seen that sort of impact in terms of being more conscious of those losses, especially when you see real-time data?
Right. So that's a wonderful question. And I think I'll take cues from what Deepak said and also what Mandvi has said, right? And I'll try to put a story that where we have really made an impact first, and then how this technology helped there, right? So we worked with, it's very important to choose because the moment you go into technology, right, you have to look at affordability of technology as well, right? So this is a case where you should look at aggregation, because aggregation is where the buying power comes collectively, right? Because technology is not all technology is cheap, right? And when you're talking about spices and high value crops, their quality is what the differentiation on in cost is a lot more on the gradation of the quality, right? So this is as part of the Sagu Bagu project in Telangana that we did in as part of a bigger group of people where we were the quality partner. Digital Greens was the NGO who helped who was driving the operations on the ground, and this was reported in World Economic Forum also. So overall, because of the right interventions, right, from IPM to quality measurement to smart, proper market linkages, I think the farmers saw double-digit increase in income, right, over a period of 3 years, right? And this is primarily related to chilies. They have now moved on to turmeric and other crops as well, right? So what we have seen is just by objectively measuring quality, right, at the farm gate, right, where the farmer is coming out and selling his produce, right, you give him a report instantly, a rapid report, right, which is, for example, I'll give you, for the sake of differentiation, I can tell you that measuring the quality of chili in a lab is 24 hours process at least, right, because the process is a bit lengthier. We can give the through our device in 2 minutes time, right? You just need to grind the sample and go ahead and put it there. You get the capsaicin aster color immediately, right? Moisture with the moisture content thing, and the physical quality with the visual device. So overall, you do a time compression of the entire event where you get to know the quality then and there. That leads to better price realization, right? And this is done at FPOs, which is the farmers are coming all at scale, right? So So the value that they get delivered is by virtue of the collective power of buying that they have. Right now, why and how it has helped, right? Decision making becomes faster because um, a very good example could be that none of the food material that I've seen in any value chain goes waste, right? Either it is used for human consumption or animal consumption or something else, right? So if you know the quality instantly, you know where it can go to, right? For example, if I have a high curcumin content in turmeric, that can go to an API company, right? Who can a pharmaceutical company. The ones which are the medium ones can go to the the spices producers, and the low ones can go to your, say, cosmetics and other stuff, right? So I'm just trying to say that if you have the right measurement, the right kind of buyer can buy it from you with the right price point, giving better value to the customers, which is the farmer in this case, right? So I think objectively, if you look at it, it is more about making that entire thing transparent with better value relation for everyone. They know what they're procuring, and they know that what price they're getting is the right value for what they're selling it for, right? So overall, the process and the chain becomes much more transparent and trustworthy, right? That's how I see it, and that is what has been our mission also, right? We say that we are delivering quality food for billions, but we're also ensuring trust and transparency in the food value chains through technological interventions.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Subrat. And yes, point well taken on especially how, when we are looking at FPOs at scale and we're looking at large scale produce, and how these decision and the data at information at the right time and in the hands of right people can, move things in a favorable decision. And also an interesting point that you made is, while we are talking about loss, we're also looking at alternative ways where, we're not, we're looking at agri waste, where we are, and that's where, the integration comes in. And let me come up with a follow-up question for you. But before we do that, let's go to Paulomi. Paulomi, you heard, the range of innovation here and the diverse sort of, stakeholders that are involved. When we're looking at this context, how do you see, the ecosystem should be built in order to, sort of support these innovations to scale? And by ecosystem, we mean like, diverse actors, right? Now we have investors and knowledge and all of that. So if you could weigh in on that, we'd be, eager to learn from you.
Okay, thank you, Anar, for the question. And before we go ahead with the question, and what I heard from different innovators right now about the different challenges that are happening, and the kind of solutions they are providing, making solutions more affordable, more accessible, looking at aggregation models like Dr. Subrat talked about, and Manvi talked about how they are bringing the storage solutions. I think we as a country have come from a food scarce nation to becoming self-sufficient. Now, the time is very important to reduce inefficiencies in the value chain. And we are also faced with a very big challenge, which is climate change, while also being cognizant of the changes that climate brings. And food system is at the heart of this challenge because it's the system that is most affected by climate change. And farmers, enterprises, government, investors, everyone is worried of these challenges, and no one is unscathed because of this challenge. That is where our role comes in as advisors, and we work with all of these players. So when you're talking and looking at what players we are talking about one farmers. While there are solutions with respect to storage, there are primary processing. A lot of these manufacturers and others, corporates are working on these aspects. Market linkage and aggregation is something that is very important, aggregation models. And one of the examples I'll highlight is that we are working with Foundation for Development of Rural Value Chains, FDRBC, and we're looking at an aggregation model where we are supporting producer enterprises, FPOs, in reducing this value chain inefficiencies by creating market linkages. And we are working with AgroStar, S4S Technologies, and everyone. So farmers are one part of the solution. They are one of the stakeholders that we're looking at. While we're looking at the farmers, I'll come to the enterprises, the kind of enterprise that we were talking about. One of the challenges is that while storage as a solution for PHL has achieved scale, but on-farm storage, what Mandvi highlighted, that is still a challenge. Similarly, there are a lot of innovative challenges, innovative solutions which are there, but they are yet to attain scale. So there again, we come into picture. What we do is we connect these FPOs with the enterprise in validating those technologies by connecting them, by matchmaking them. There's a need for matchmaking them to solve these, to validate these problems, but also to bring accessibility and availability, the issue of availability and accessibility of these solutions to the farmers, that we are solving this problem by bringing the enterprise to you. The enterprise is validating the solution. So we are bringing two players together. But what we see that these two are there, but financing again can be a challenge. So as advisors, we see that as a very important problem that needs to be solved. So what we is needed is customized financing mechanisms that are needed, and for that a large DFIs or investors, they have to be cognizant of what are the challenges of early stage technology providers, because a lot of these problems that are coming up and climate change being posing more threat to these kind of challenges, there is a need for financials to tailor these solutions. And then government as policy makers could be an important player here by providing conducive policies. We work with the government also. We are right now working with government of UP, and created a forum where these solutions could be tested in the state of UP and address the local challenges, because looking at UP, Maharashtra, all of these states are large horticulture producers and they have different kind of challenges. So it's very important to look at the different challenges in different state and how all of these players can come together and solve this problem. So we are looking at one farmer, we are looking at enterprises, we are looking at investors and the government as important stakeholders. While I also want to highlight that the role of CSOs is very important here. They help specifically the smallholders who form the 80% of the farming population, helping them in adopting these best practices, wherein they can look at primary processing, which is still not built to that scale right now. It's still at a very smaller levels. Or looking at, say, processing at on-farm processing, which is still at a very small scale, or being done in smaller corners or smaller villages. So this is something that needs to be focused on when you're looking at an ecosystem, and we look at all of these players working together to solve this problem of reducing or addressing this problem of reducing post-harvest loss in agriculture. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Paulomi. And just a heads up to all of you that we do have a lot of questions lined up as well for you all. So I would like, before we delve into those questions, Shubhadeep, could you reflect on, what are those key, factors that Omnivore looks at when investing in post-harvest loss innovation? So what are those key markers or, indicators of a viable model that, you as an investor would look at?
Sure. So I think there are, of course, like at an early stage, it's largely a lot of indexation happens on the team, uh, who's driving kind of the business, and what are kind of their motivations. Why did they get into this? Why are they best suited to solve for this problem, right? That is a very important part of evaluation, which I think investors do. Given that venture investing is typically a long journey where you're spending the next maybe 7, 8, 10 years in helping these businesses scale and staying invested and so on. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think around the solution itself, or the problem statement and the solution mapping. Like, is there what we technically call product market fit? That is the problem deep enough? Is it a real enough problem that it can get paying customers, right, effectively? And if so, what shape, form can the solution take? And it could be a product, it could be a service, but is there like early PMF signs where you have a deep enough problem which can scale, which is maybe large enough for a business outcome, can scale into like a larger sustainable business? And linked to that, I think, is the point around defensibility, because when let's say investors back something, you would want to look at businesses that can create some degree of differentiation, and that could be in different ways. It could be operating leverage that you create, it could be technological differentiation that you create, but largely, how do you keep ahead of the competition? I think that is one of the lenses for sure while evaluating. And specific to, I think, the post-harvest and the food loss segments, I think it's important also to understand in a way how regulation probably is shaping up, right? How is compliance moving? Are there some tailwinds in the space which can then be leveraged in the solutions that are being built, that can also influence the go-to-market strategy? What kind of customers you reach out to? Do you go directly to the end users? Are there intermediaries you can use who kind of pay for some of the solutions? Can you do a bundled approach with the off-taker? Um, can you bring together like a consortium of different players? Like on this call, I can see, various different players working in different value chains and different solutions. So if there are projects where they can co-build together. So I think all of that is also a function of how the industry is organized or organizing in terms of service providers, and also a function of regulation. Like we've seen in the case of, and we keep hearing about, exports being rejected, yada, 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 in terms of your MRL levels not being correct and all. So there's enough opportunity, but I think the point is one also needs to evaluate, are there any positive or negative regulations that may impact some of these businesses? I think that's the other thing. And I mean, the financial sustainability element has to be there. I think that's just a given. Today is not the time and age where businesses can get built without being at least having a window towards becoming profitable. So that goes without saying. But yeah, those would be, I think, some of the specifics. And then I think the challenges, if I may, of thinking about investing in this space from an impact perspective and measuring the impact perspective is that what's the intentionality of the particular company, right? Why are they doing that particular business? Is it just to kind of make a quick buck, or is there a longer viewpoint that the team and management has, that they can stick to this space for the next 10, 15 years and actually make a difference in their stakeholders' kind of life journeys, right? So that intentionality, I think, becomes very important for us investors and a lot of our kind of DFI LPs as well, when we kind of try and do the impact mapping of the work that they do as well, right? So I think that is also a very important part to evaluate as we come in.
Thank you. Thank you, Shubhadeep, for these insights. And I mean, as you know, you truly said that balancing financial sustainability and to also like look at impact is a classic problem that impact investors have to deal with. I had many questions for you, but of course the time is finite, and we also have very good questions lined up. So I would like to dive right into it. Subrat, maybe you'd be able to answer this. So the question is, to what extent are AI-based post-harvest decision support tools inclusive of local knowledge, farmer behavior, and their own contextual specific issues? So how do they include those ground level realities?
That is, that's a great question, because I think people on the ground, see, I may be building technology here, but the way that it is getting deployed requires a lot of education and understanding, right? Because um, the trustworthiness of a machine is, because AI is finally a machine, right? You need to explain to them why is the report saying so, right? Uh, the moment that education happens, at least some level of trustworthiness comes in. But I think the overall thing that I think the most important thing which matters to people is at least they're getting things done fast, right? Immediately, they don't. The harassment is gone of waiting for the reports, getting that entire thing done. And in the process, we educate them, right? Because sometimes it's sort of an advisory, sometimes it's given to them that probably you need to clean the things and come back, right? Or you are storing them wrong. You need not. You please dry them and come back. You'll get a better realization of the pricing, right? I think that information of that transformation of that transfer of information to them and these are primarily the people who are coming and we're procuring them on somebody else's behalf. That has helped them to adopt technology. But one of the foremost thing which happens is when the value relation happens faster and in a more transparent way, they also tend to understand or rather accept it as uh, a palatable thing, right? Rather than just taking a technology intervention, right? Because they will see some advantage of it. If they see that, okay, my turnaround cycle or TAT is reducing from say months to 7 days, nothing better than that, right? They get better price realization. Other thing is they also the thing which they don't the kind of education that happens around waste and losses, right? Is earlier, at least the thing was they would get the buyer, like I was saying in the earlier thing, right? That food never gets wasted in some sense, right? I would say that there has to be a way with a different consumer, right? The consumer segment can become different, right? It could be something else, right? So the kind of rice somebody is bringing to me may not be good for me, but it could be good for distillery, right? Something of that sort. So if that knowledge also is given to those farmers and the FPOs or the people who are coming in at that point, it helps, right? But uh, any technological interventions requires two things, and which were addressed well by Subhadeep, is there has to be some policy-based thing from the government, right? I've told this earlier also, and there should be ground awareness of, probably an NGO or someone who is educating them that this technology helps you do this, right? That helps in adoption of what we call AI or any tech on the ground better, leading to better outcomes for people. You're on mute, Anna.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Subrat, for that response. And yes, well said that AI is again a machine, and how do we make it more context specific is a challenge which which is an ongoing for company like Agnext. I have a similar question from the participants for Manvi. So when we are talking about building the entire integrated infrastructure for farmers, especially the market linkages and warehouse financing, how do we bring in the landless in the sort of how do we also benefit the landless laborers as well? And arguably they are also one of the losers, and when it comes to crop loss. So, what are some of the field level insights that you've seen to sort of, include the more vulnerable groups in rural setting?
Yeah, so I'll take a minute to understand this. So when we're talking about the most vulnerable people, especially the landless, I will give one of the case studies and one of my own experiences when I joined the company and went into the field and studies. So Arya has a model called community value chain resource person model. So we mostly hire women because, as we know, there are more women in the agriculture, but they are in a very informal way. So what we do with them is we hire them on our own payroll. We teach them, we train them for over a month to so that they can train in return to like 500s of farmers, or they can attach to one FPO that we are working with to make them understand about like soil testing mechanisms, grain quality understanding, about the fertilizer intake uptake. We have this app called Arya Shakti, through which we train them to help the farmers to understand when to put the fertilizer, when not to, which disease is happening, because farmers are themselves very knowledgeable. So we help them to get their land digitized, to develop the integrated knowledge that bank through them. So because landless, we want to train them so that they can train people all over again to the farmers. So I saw one question which talked about what do we do with the smallholder farmers. So we work with the aggregation. Uh, and then for the landless, we choose the women over there who have some ability to talk to people because they are their own people. So, and also farming, when you talk about the male dominance in the agriculture, especially going to the mandis and all, it is very male dominated. So we also wanted to hit on that part as well. So we chose this community value chain resource person model. I'm happy to answer and elaborate on that. My email ID is there. I can like share some videos also. I think that would be helpful. Yeah. I hope
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you, Manvi. And that was indeed a very pertinent question, and especially like, how we see capacity building or training and, linking them and including, diverse groups within the innovation that we are talking about. Deepak, we have one question for you. So when we are talking about supply chain, and especially in perishables, so what are the, barriers to scale the technology that you bring in? So, it would be interesting to learn that, if you're an innovator like Green Pods, what are the supply chain barriers, systemic barriers that you typically have to deal with?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. The biggest area where we have struggled in the previous years is like majority of fruits and vegetables or do not have a structured supply chain, be it a packaging pattern or a procurement like system, or like storage process and stuff. It's very unpredictable. So the packaging system might be like 5 kgs, 10 kgs, 20 kgs. There's a lot of variability on. When you're trying to deploy a technology which has to work with the ground, where biochemical pathways are being controlled, some amount of structuring was needed. So that's the reason why we couldn't go into commodities where there was no proper packaging system. So we went into export market because the packaging system, storage, and like procurement, all those were very structured. So we were able to provide a consistent product value and consistent shelf life extension. I think that's one major barrier. We have multiple fruits and vegetables where still a basic procurement SOPs or like packaging SOPs or not there. That's one barrier I see impacting new innovations coming into the market. The other barrier is right now we have plugged in, let's say, hello. Are you guys able to hear me? Is the volume very low? Is it better now? Okay, cool. No, yeah, I think the one challenge is the structuring of supply chain practices and storage. The other area where it's another challenge for the innovations is the losses are plugged into the pricing right now. Let's say a 20%, 30% losses are already plugged into the economics of the commodity. When a commodity is sold at 100 rupees, it's accounting for, let's say, a average of 20% or 30% losses. That mindset is sometimes restricts any new innovation to go into the ecosystem. So I think those are the two areas what I see as an immediate challenge. The long-term challenge is, as other entrepreneurs mentioned, on the policy level and regulatory side. More awareness and education are needed in that to make a systemic change.
Thank you. Thanks, Deepak, for those reflections. And as we're nearing, closing of the webinar, I would like to invite Polomi to sort of reflect, share your quick reflections on, what are the enablers that we should focus on, and what would be the top three for you. Yes, and then I have one good question for Shubhadeep, but Polomi, please.
Yeah, I think what I heard from the different panelists and to look at the different aspects, I think while I was talking about the different stages in post-harvest, like the different phases in post-harvest management, post-harvest loss management. So the first phase, when you look at the harvesting and the primary processing phase. The second phase, when you look at the storage phase. The third phase, if you look at the processing phase, and the fourth phase, you are looking at market linkage. At all of these phases, it is important to look at who could enable the farmers in adopting the solutions, and how could they do it. So I feel there a top down approach could work, one where say a manufacturer or say a corporate food agribusiness that are working with the farmers, models that where agribusinesses work with the farmers either directly through a contract farming model or through say input providers, they are working with them. A top down approach is something that will work. And here the role of all of these input providers, the role of CSOs, uh, to help and support the farmers in adopting such kind of solutions would be very important. Second aspect that I feel that enabling is looking at, see, I highlighted that there are 80% smallholders in India. So looking at models that could work the best for farmers. A lot of importance has been given to processing, storage, all of these solutions. Mechanization is something that has, for smallholders specifically, again, the third point is I feel could be an important aspect which could be solved through policy, which policy is an important aspect talked about by two other panelists. And I feel that it's important to enable this machineries, the adoption of machineries, and is an important aspect, and processing on the farm, storage on the farm. Policies for these aspect is very important. These solutions is very important. And last, when I talk about all of these, I talked about policy, I talked about farmer-centric models for adoption, and I talked about how enterprise-led models, or how, or maybe say corporate or agribusiness-led models, top-down models could be important. The last is finance. Finance is very important. One, for investing a lot of these innovative solutions, when you talk about storage and others which are developed, there are a lot of solutions which are still developing and which are critical for reducing the or addressing the post-harvest loss. Financing is critical for investing in their business. These are all early stage. A lot of them are early stage, and finance would help them in testing their solutions and testing the solutions not in isolation, through partnerships with government, CSOs, with different departments. It's very important to work with them because again, agriculture is a subject or a sector that cannot be looked in isolation. It has to be, you have to work with departments, you have to work with CSOs. So all of these are enabling factors. Again, reiterating, working together with the farmers, co-creating solutions, policies, farmer-centric models that help them adopt those solutions. And fourth is financing. So these are the four things that I feel that are very important that could help in adoption of these solutions and address PHL. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Polomi. Those are, really well laid out pieces of the puzzle, when we are trying to solve this problem. Picking on the finance piece that you had talked about, that, I would invite Shubhadeep to share your, final reflections, briefly, if possible. Especially, what are the, trends that you foresee? What are the biggest opportunities for in post-harvest loss reduction or innovation that you see as an investor, and how do we leverage the climate finance, and how do you see this sector evolving?
Sure, I'll make an attempt. That's actually quite broad. But I think in terms of some of the trends, I think one is there is, and I'm sticking to India for now in my response, but I think there is a growing and more awareness at a consumer level around what you're consuming, what you're applying on your, face, what you're using in your, home detergents and stuff like that. So we are seeing a shift of better for you, cleaner formulations across the board, right? So that is going to continue strongly, and anything that can help um, in that journey, whether to monitor that, whether to quickly evaluate things in that supply chain, or help people get to newer products and formulations and better customer, I guess, nutrition as well, is going to be super critical, right? So that is one clear trend that we are definitely seeing. On the food loss side of things, I think from a technology standpoint, I think there are a lot of players, but it's the end applications which I think will get now developed faster. AI is coming in a big way, and I think folks who are not using that in their development will fall short. So that's an important, and like all businesses, all of us are going to be positively, negatively, or somewhat affected. So it should be, in this case, I think it'll help the sector overall to come up with better solutions. On the financing side, I think we are in the early stages of seeing some blended financing structures evolve. We are seeing some layered structures where, like, a guarantee is sitting, and then there's maybe like a mezzanine structure, an equity plus guarantee structures come in to help some of these solutions. What is needed, I guess, is a lot more money to help do pilots or do early stage kind of validation of some of these things. So that's where I think there needs to be joint work done by the ecosystem, which I think some of my co-panelists mentioned, and also some of the corporates as well, who have largely till now, been doing some things in silos, but there hasn't been like an industry-wide work done together. So I think if we can help catalyze some of those parts, it'll help the overall financing, because there is enough and more financing which is there available for good companies and good solutions, which are aimed at sustainability, climate, solving for food resilience and things like that. So, and more will come up. It's the need of the hour, which everyone understands. So I think those would be the two axes that I kind of think of, and then within those, there'll be certain technologies which, of course, take primacy, certain business models which evolve and take primacy. But I'll kind of restrict myself to that. Happy to connect with participants later on as well to chat.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shubhadeep. And yes, you are getting a lot of questions, all of you. And it's great if you can, also participants are able to connect with you later. And that, really brings us to the end of the webinar, but a few final reflections and key takeaways for, us as a group was really, how critical it is to work on this together, and especially given the, various, pieces of the puzzle, be it, resolving supply chain barriers, or, looking at behavior change to drive adoption of these technologies, looking at the right fit. We also saw that how, AI is changing things, whether we catch up with it or not. And especially the entire, like, awareness of sustainability, and consumer awareness for having safe food also brings in that sort of push to sort of handle food better and more efficiently. um, I would also like to thank participants to, for their really insightful questions. A lot of these questions would be like, good fodder for all of us